everyone, you're watching Bite Me second season, and today we have a basics video. Now the whole point of me doing this basics video is so that I can show you all how to roast beetroot, because that's what we're going to do today. It's roasted beetroot, and this is because we're going to use that lovely roast beetroot puree in a number of recipes later on. So all we need for this recipe is some beetroot. Now over here I have around 545 grams of beetroot. So I have like one really massive beet and then a medium sized one and a tiny sized one. It's a mommy, a daddy and a baby beetroot apparently over here. So what we're going to do for this is begin roasting them. Now this is really basic. I cannot stress this anymore. All you need is a baking tray and you need some foil. You're not going to add any oil, any fat, any flavoring or anything, because you are going to use these in a different recipe later on. Okay, so you don't want to flavor it at all. And then you're going to just put your foil over. I like doing this to my beetroot because every time I buy a lot of beetroot, they get spoiled really quickly. In about 2 or 3 days, they're going to start to soften, and this way you can buy a lot of beetroot, roast them. They're going to stay longer that way because they are cooked, or you can freeze it, which is what I always do. So cover up, and now we're just going to set this in an oven which has been preheated at 180 degrees Celsius. And I'm going to check my different size beetroot because the smallest one is obviously going to cook faster than the other ones. And I'm going to come and check the smallest one in about 25 minutes and then the bigger one in about 45 minutes, and the biggest should actually take about a whole hour or maybe a little bit more to finish cooking. So I'm just going to pop this in the oven and then I'm just going to go and do my thing. So the beetroot is done roasting. I mean, I took a nap, I let the beetroot cool, I even shot another video in the middle, and now I'm here to make beetroot puree for you. So after it's done, I peeled it and I have the peels here as evidence for all the work that I did. And this is what the beetroot looks like. So as long as a knife can go through it, your beetroot is done. Okay, so depending on the size of the beetroot and depending on the oven that you're using, that's going to vary greatly. Okay, so now all we're going to do is put the beetroot into a blender, mixer, whatever you have. You're going to just process it. And now if you want to use your beetroot in cubes or whatever, you can just like chop it up and freeze that as well. I often like doing it as a puree because then I can put it into things like patties or rice, or you know, just with some sour cream and make like a lovely dip. That's what I do with my beetroot puree. Okay, and now to blend it up. You don't want it to blend for a long time or mix for a long time, because what's going to happen then, it's going to become too fine and it's just going to be a very wet mess. You just want to give it a couple of pulses so it gets a nice grainy texture. When you hear your mixer or blender struggling, just open the lid and then with a spatula just remix it so you can get all the big pieces back down to the bottom, so you can puree that as well. And that's it, we're done, and I'm just going to decant this into a nice little container and pop it into the freezer. So then what I do is just take the puree and put it into containers. You can put it into smaller containers if you want, and you can just pop those out whenever you're ready to use. I'm just going to put this in here all nicely, and look, that's the lovely texture you're going to get, and it's so beautiful. By the way, I have only started eating beetroot as an adult. I used to absolutely abhor them as a child, and all of the lovely recipes that I have made with them has made me like it even more. So I'm sure children would like it as well. And that's it. You can freeze it for up to a month or two. It never lasts that long in our house. We tend to put it in a lot of different dishes just to add some flavor and sweetness and color. And the best part about roasted beetroot is that because you're roasting it, you're concentrating all of the sugars off the root vegetable itself. So you're going to get this lovely, rich, sweet, earthy flavor from the beetroot, as opposed to boiling them, which kind of just dilutes the flavor. Okay, so if you have an oven, by all means do this. There you go. And just remember to tag your beetroot so you know when it was made and when it's ready to use again. So there you go, that's your puree, and we will be using this in a couple of more recipes, and I will link those recipes to this video, and that way there won't be any confusion at all.